welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Rewatch Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and it is episode number 155 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from January 14th, 1995, taped January 2nd, 1995, from the Sevier County High School in Sevierville, Tennessee. My name is Arya, and joining me for the first time ever is the Les Thatcher to my Jim Ross, is Stevie J. Stevie, how the hell you doing today?
Considering my respect for the legendary Les Thatcher, I am not worthy of such a comparison, so I'll have to reluctantly accept it, but I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Would you felt better if I called you the Scotty McKeever to my Boo Bradley?
That might be more appropriate, yes.
So yes, for those who did not join us on Tuesday, and first of all, what the hell's wrong with you? Trey is on a little bit of a sabbatical right now. So right now we are playing, you know, rotating co-hosts. And so I roped Stevie J into doing it this week. We'll see how much he enjoys it, see if he joins me again next week. And if not, we'll see where we go from here. But we're talking about Smoky Mountain Wrestling 155. Now, before today, have you ever watched a full episode of Smoky Mountain Wrestling?
I have watched episodes here and there, but not in sequential order, and
Okay.
certainly not with an eye toward history. So it's been random, and I've always enjoyed it when I've done it. But
Mhm.
aside from your podcast, the most exposure I've had to Smoky Mountain Wrestling is hearing Jim Cornette and Les Thatcher talk about it on podcasts. I've probably learned more about it through them than I have through actually watching it, at least until this particular episode. And spoiler alert, yes, I did enjoy it, and yes, I would do it again.
So, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts because obviously this was not an introductory episode. It was the first episode of a new taping, but there was a lot playing off of stuff that's recently happened. So it'll be interesting to
Yes.
see your thoughts as a newcomer and what you think about the different angles as opposed to Trey and I who watched, well, Trey's watched 100 and I've watched all 155. Um,
I would say that
so
they do a good job of bringing people up to speed because there are a lot of vignettes and video packages and recaps of previous things. So you could literally walk in from any point and enjoy this episode of Smoky Mountain.
Now, I'm not sure if you'll really have much of an opinion about this, but I had written this note down to discuss this with Trey, and what the hell? I want to discuss this on this week's episode, I guess. So the Gangsters come in July of '94, and it's very heavy race baiting.
Hmm.
Like we are in the whitest part of Tennessee, and we're getting these two black guys coming in, very angry, very much heels, very much the we're here to piss off white people. New Jack said that his instructions from Jim Cornette were go out there and piss off white people.
And in
Now,
Dark Side of the Ring, when they talked to New Jack, he said the exact same thing. So there are no
yeah.
surprises here about this angle or what they're doing with the gangsters. I was completely up to speed on that part.
Well, here's the question though, because what as some people may know, because you may have watched or may have listened to Jim Cornette talk about this, a year before he was originally going to bring in Tony Atlas to be managed by Tammy Fitch, and it was going to play off the same racial undertones with this white woman managing a big black guy. And now, obviously, Tony Atlas is no New Jack in every possible way. However, no, Tony Atlas backed out. He didn't even come for the first taping. He had a thing with his wife. He had admitted to cheating on his wife a lot and realized that the worst thing he should do is go and be on TV with this gorgeous 19-year-old blonde woman. So, my question though is let's pretend there's an alternate universe where Tony Atlas did come into the territory in '93, managed by Sonny as the race baiting angle. First of all, does Cornette still bring in the gangsters a year later? And secondly, again, even though they're different people in every adjective word. They were coming in for the same reason. Does it work for better or worse? Again, if the gangsters come in after Tony Atlas.
I say the gangsters absolutely would come in, and for exactly the reason that it wouldn't work with Tony Atlas, because he does not have the chops on the microphone to cut the kind of promos that New Jack does. Like New Jack, face or heel, knows how to incite a crowd and draw out emotion, which was one of Jerome Young's strongest qualities. Like, say what you will about whether or not he was a great technician, but on the microphone, he was golden, as good as it gets. And I've listened to many a Tony Atlas promo and interview over the years. And even if they tried as hard as fucking hell to sell the idea that he was the black guy in the white neighborhood, I don't think he or Tammy could have pulled that off. He's literally too nice of a guy for that. He's too soft spoken. He wants women to walk all over him in their high heels. Tony Atlas could not pull
Literally.
this off. Yeah, I do mean that literally.
Um, and I think that's a big thing too, is because Tony Atlas, the heat there would have been just because it's happening. Whereas New Jack, the heat with New Jack is give him a microphone and listen to him talk for 3 minutes. Um,
Listen to him call everybody honkies and rednecks and crackers and say how they don't like him. Well, that's fine. I don't like you either. New Jack knew how to raise the roof.
Indeed, he did. Well, let's get going with the show. Let's go to the intro of the show with JR and Les, who are, of course, going to preview what we're going to see this week.
The Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm Jim Ross, along with Les Thatcher, and thank you for being with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a brand new, exciting program for you this week, including Boo Bradley.
That's right, the all-new Boo Bradley for 95. Now he's free of Candido and Tammy Fitch, and Boo is on his own. We're going to see him today.
Plus a very interesting confrontation. Jim Cornette wants to talk to the commissioner.
That's right, and he said he's going to see him as quickly as possible, and that's today. You've got him on confrontation.
Plus we have another Beat the Champ matchup with the television champion, Nature Boy Buddy Landell, who will be here.
That's right, Landell's second defense against George South. It should be a good one, Jim.
Plus some highlights from Christmas Chaos, the Rock and Roll Express, managed by Jim Cornette as they took on the Gangsters. That one entirely got out of hand.
Oh, it certainly did. Cornette is on a cane, but the belts are back around the waist of the Rock and Roll Express, Jim.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a great crowd here tonight. We're glad that you are with us. Let's get up the ring in our first contest.
Okay. So, do you know the gimmick of the Beat the Champ TV title?
That would be a mystery to me, although my immediate reaction to hearing Beat the Champ TV title was not, what is that? It was instead, did they mention the Rock and Roll Express? I'm wearing their shirt. What a good coincidence.
What a coincidence. Now, if you were Trey or you were me, you'd be a little pissed off right now because the point of the Beat the Champ TV title is each champion, they defend every week, and every successful defense, they get $1,000. However, it maxes out at 5. And if you win your 5 title defenses, you get a $5,000 bonus. The problem is, for whatever reason, they've been fucking with the Beat the Champ for the past, I don't know, 6 months at this point. And Buddy Landell won the Beat the Champ 2 weeks ago, and last week he did not defend it at all. And I made a joke that, watch, next week they're going to say this is his second defense, even though he hasn't defended the belt at all. And sure enough, sure as shit, they announced that this is Buddy's second defense. And
So
just to make sure that...
yeah,
Sorry,
they're ignoring their own stipulation. That's what you're saying.
exactly. And just to make sure that I wasn't going insane, I went and double checked that I was watching the right episode. I pulled up the January 7th show. And no, January 7th was the show we watched 2 weeks ago. So yeah.
Mhm.
But Jim Cornette's coming on confrontation. There have been this is JR's interview segment. He came in October, so there's been about 12 confrontations. Jim Cornette's been on 10 of them. You know, it might as well be confrontation with Jim Cornette.
It ought to be called Jim
Um,
Cornette's tennis racket time. Like, here I am. I got a tennis racket. I got something to say.
well, we go to our opener, which is Boo Bradley versus Skydy McKeever. This is Boo Bradley's official debut as a babyface. And Les, maybe I just kept mishearing him. He kept calling Boo Blue Bradley. JR says we'll talk to Chris Candido later today. And they keep mentioning Cactus Jack. Now, we mentioned last week, Cactus Jack is out of the territory because basically he's not wrestling anymore. So last week we saw his last match against Bruiser Bedlam, but I guess he did tape some promos. So at the very least, he's here this week, and we'll see how many more he's here, but he's no longer getting in the ring. And Boo won with a middle rope elbow drop.
Yeah, which they definitely played up as being a disciple of Cactus Jack. So he was wrestling in a manner that Cactus Jack would wrestle, and seeing the flying elbow was the exclamation point on that.
Which is funny because, like, until this week, his finisher was a top rope leg drop. So I don't know why he didn't go to the top rope for the elbow. But either way.
Yeah. But it was a solid squash match. Like, I didn't know who Scotty was, and I don't expect to know who Scotty is after. Like, I even looked him up and found him on like Cage Match or the Wrestling Database, I forget which. And all it said was he passed away in 2018. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not surprised at a show from the 90s that somebody's no longer here.
Well, Boo's not here either.
Well, I know. I'm watching two ghosts in the ring right now, but Boo Bradley, a.k.a. Balls Mahoney, would go on to much bigger fame than Scotty McKeever.
Mark Curtis was probably the referee. He's not with us either.
Good point.
Yeah. Well, after that, we go to a pre-tape promo with Cactus and Boo outside of a mental institution. Let's go to that now.
Boo, it's a certificate that says that you are sane. Not smart, but sane. All these many years, Chris Candido had convinced you that you were unable to live by yourself, unable to function in society without someone to take care of you. Well, Boo, no more! Because you fight the fight for everyone out there, for yourself, for Boots, and for everyone who's been taken advantage of by con men like Fitch and Candido. You see, inside that heart of gold, inside the mind of a child, there lies the anger of a beast that must be released for you to squash the specter of Candido. Well, you know, Cactus and everybody, Chris, you used to keep me in a box and in a doghouse, and you used to feed me dog food, and you used to take my money, and I never knew, about that stuff until Cactus and these people told me what was up. And now I know the value of everything. And every hardship that I had to do, you're gonna have to face now, because I don't getting treated like that no more. And it's your fault that I was treated that way. And I'm gonna beat you up real good. You see that, Boo? That's the road of a free man. Let's walk it.
Have you ever watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Many, many, many episodes. Particularly given that Danny DeVito plays one of the most over-the-top insane characters in television history on that show. I am quite fond of it.
So when Cactus talked about having a certificate saying Boo is sane, all I could think of was Danny DeVito having his certificate saying that he didn't have donkey brains.
Yeah, that thought did cross my mind, although I was confused a little later on, and this is where I have a question for you, Arya.
Of course.
Well, he talks in this promo with Cactus Jack about all the things he suffered from Chris Candido, and not once did he ever mention Chris Candido squashing a cat. And quite frankly, if Candido had done that to me, that would be the first thing I would talk about, not even not mentioning it at all.
See, now I was going to ask you about that because that just happened last week. And Jim Cornette as a booker got on our shit list for this one. They did the angle of Christmas Chaos where Boo and Candido finally had their split, and Candido gave a diving leg drop to Boots the cat, killing the cat. Now, what you may have seen, because they were interspersing little clips of Candido and them in the promo they did last week at Boots' grave. So you can argue that they had their closure last week when Cactus gave Boo a pep talk at Boots' grave. But I have to ask you what you think about this angle where Candido killed Boots the cat.
Pretty gross. I'm a cat lover. I've had cats my whole life, and I mean, the whole point of wrestling is to stir up people's emotions and make them feel some kind of way so they'll pay money to see a match. I get it. I also feel like for an angle that heavy, it should have been mentioned by Boo Bradley. And the only way I can justify him not mentioning it is the fact that this was, as you said, a pre-tape segment before Cactus left to go to WWF and be Mankind. So fine. Well,
Oh,
he may have even had a cup of coffee in ECW before that, if I remember correctly. So either
oh yeah,
way,
this. Mhm.
He's moving on to ECW, then WWF. But in the interim, even if they pre-taped this, they could have come back from the pre-tape and said, well, that was taped a few weeks ago. And since then at Christmas Chaos, we didn't get that
Well,
news until much later in the episode.
well, they couldn't really say that because that's when Boo embraced Cactus Jack after Jack had been trying to get to him for a few months. The Cactus Jack thing, he doesn't go to the WWF for another year. He one of the big reasons why he leaves Smoky Mountain at this point is because he was living in Atlanta at this point because he was in WCW forever, and he left Atlanta and moved back to New York, and because it also was easier to get to Tokyo flying out of New York than Atlanta, because he was
Oh,
doing
for
a lot
his
of
death
Japan dates.
matches. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean Cornette, like I'm sure he would have been happy to bring in Cactus for the occasional big show. He can't fly in Cactus Jack, on a monthly basis for TV tapings and different spot shows. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the reason why he's gone. Hmm.
And let's face it, even if they're saying the TV champion gets $1,000 for each win and a $5,000 bonus, that's kayfabe. I'm pretty sure Smoky Mountain didn't have the budget for that.
No, and that they drew about 400 people, if you believe the internet, and usually TV tapings were between $5 and $8 a ticket. So you're looking at about $3,200. We have four TV tapings, so we gave away $4,000 and beat the chat money this month. They're already in the
Yeah,
red.
that math doesn't math. And I understand Jim Cornette put a lot of his own money into Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but even he wouldn't finance it to that degree.
No, no. Um, so it's kind of weird because, like, again, Cactus is leaving and Boo is still a simpleton. He still doesn't really know everything, but now he knows the value of money, and now he's going to be on his own. And like in a lot of ways that didn't even make sense because like he could barely do anything on his own not that long ago, and now he's going to be on his own as a wrestler without Candido, without Tammy, and now without Cactus Jack.
I feel like to some degree they're also leaning on the idea that the audience is going to be familiar with To Kill a Mockingbird because that's where the whole idea of Boo Bradley being a simpleton comes from in the first place.
Maybe he needs to bust up a shiffer robe. Well, it wasn't him that busted out the shipper robe. It was um the African American guy that broke up the shipper robe. Um I forget
Right,
what Boo
right.
did. He did something with what's her name? Oh my God, I haven't read that book in a while. Um this is the end of
Spoiler
our
alert, I haven't
literature.
either.
Yeah. This is the end of the literature part of our show here today.
Yeah, we're not going
And
to
then
go into Pride and Prejudice and all the other books that are required reading in high school. It's probably been that long since I've read To Kill a Mockingbird.
yeah, I think I saw the movie a little more recently than that, but that's about it.
Hmm.
By the way, they walk away arm in arm, set to "He ain't heavy, he's my brother."
Hmm. So
What
yes,
a song!
they are definitely literally leaning on each other with this one. They are leaning on the idea he's Cactus's disciple. They are leaning on each other as they walk off into the sunset. They are leaning on the song to reinforce the idea that Cactus loves him like family and thinks that he can live on his own without Candido and Fitch, who I swear he said bitch instead of bitch, controlling his life.
He may have. Um,
Hmm.
well, up next, before confrontation with Cornette, they re-aired the finish and the post-match angle from Christmas Chaos with the Rock and Roll Express beating the Gangsters for the Smoky Mountain Tag Team titles. And I know you said you fast forwarded through a little bit of this to try to get done the show. Did you watch this? Any thoughts on that match and angle?
Oh, I did actually watch this entire part. It was some other parts that I fast forwarded to, but I took note of the fact that they went to black and white because apparently, much like WWE in 2026 on Netflix, there are things they will show and things they won't show. And blood, red blood in a segment was too much for them. So they switched the cameras to 1950s television mode and showed Jim Cornette getting busted wide open by the gangsters.
Are you sure they switched to black and white? I think that may just be the quality of the footage. Yeah, I think when you're talking about like during the match, I think that's just like with the lights down, that's just how it looked.
No,
Could-
I definitely know that the post match angle was in black and white, not the match itself.
Yeah. Well, after that, they showed the Cornette promo where he basically said he wants to bring back the Heavenly Bodies for Super Saturday Night Fever. But of course, because they lost their Loser Leaves Town match to the Rock and Roll Express last year, it's up to Bullet Bob Armstrong whether or not to allow the bodies to come back. Now, first of all, what do you think of the name, Super Saturday Night Fever?
I mean, they're already playing to an audience whose expectations are they would know references to pop culture like To Kill a Mockingbird. So calling something Saturday Night Fever only makes sense in that context. Their expectations are being granted by playing to the knowledge of the audience, which is ironic when you think about the fact that a lot of the wrestlers. Oh, sorry, I sent the message to the wrong person. Uh, Lost my train of thought there. That the fact is that they they um I'll get it back. You might want to edit this part.
Well,
Uh,
e- either way,
what
so
what I'm trying to say is that calling it Super Saturday Night Fever makes sense when your audience is people who are already getting pop culture and literature references. So it's funny that a lot of the wrestlers act like Knoxville is a bunch of ignorant hicks, yet the actual angles on television are like, we trust the audience, they'll know what we're talking about and they'll get the references.
now confrontation is long, so we're going to split it up into three parts. First, after they re-aired Cornette's promo, they did a quick little promo from the Heavenly Bodies. So we're going to go to that first and then come back and discuss that.
Tom, I'm sweating. I'm having chills. I'm having palpitations. What's wrong with me? I don't know. It feels like you have Super Saturday Night Fever, Jimmy. Super Saturday Night Fever? Yeah. Oh, my God, Tom. I don't know, but you'll be okay because Saturday night, January 28th, there's a lot of things going to be settled, a lot of scores going to be going on and taken care of. But we know for a fact that you, Bob Armstrong, are going to be sitting down within the next couple days and talking to Jim Cornette about letting us come back on Super Saturday night, the 28th, to get even with the gangsters. And I'll tell you this, Armstrong, if you're the kind of guy you say you are, if you're the man you say you are and you believe in justice, you'll let us come back because we've already signed the contracts. It's up to you now to let us come back and fight the gangsters in the ring. We're asking you, if we can't get them in the ring, we're going to get them in the parking lot, but we want them in the ring. You see, you guys may know about nightsticks, billet clubs, chains, and everything else, but you're talking to a couple of guys that don't mind throwing Drano in your eyes, not mind busting you in the face with a chain if it takes it. We're the masters of the dirty tricks in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Anytime you want to put yours against us, we can, man. Because you know why? We are the original gangbusters.
So it's weird seeing the Heavenly Bodies as baby faces, and I know it's the gangsters. It's weird even to see Cornette as a baby face, but this is their first promo since the Thrill Seekers feud. Yeah, they're coming in. They want the gangsters, and they're like, "Hey, even if Bob Armstrong doesn't let us, we'll come and fight them in the parking lot."
Gangbusters.
And I always say, like, if you're the only time you ever saw the Heavenly Bodies was in the WWF, it's like you really owe it yourself to watch their Smoky Mountain run. It might actually make you depressed then watching the WWF run because they were so underutilized. And it's not like the
Yeah.
WWF had such a strong tag division in 94, 95 that it was like, oh man, like we would like to, but I mean, we had the head shrinkers and the Quebecers. How can you beat them?
Mhm. The literal piss and vinegar that the heavenly bodies were filled with and threatening to use was quite impressive here. And another spoiler alert, when you say it doesn't make sense, Cornette being the babyface in this angle, well, he managed to make that work later on. And I took copious notes about his explanation to Bob Armstrong.
I mean, it makes sense because of what happened at Christmas Chaos, but it's like it's just weird seeing him as a babyface. Um, but we go back. We are now in the ring with JR and Jim Cornette, and Cornette's going to be talking about the gangsters and wanting to bring back the heavenly bodies. Let's go to that now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you see exactly what happened. Some pretty strong comments, not only from yourself, but also from your pals.
What I'm here today for is to see Bob Armstrong, because the heavenly bodies want to come back to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They want to get even with the gangsters for what they did to me. But the person standing in the way of that is Bob Armstrong, because they're still under...
Hey, wait just a second here. Just a second now, gentlemen.
You just don't get enough, do you? Huh? We thought after Christmas Chaos, you would have kept your business out my business, you understand? But you don't get enough, you understand? You want to bring the heavenly bodies in, you bring them in. You know what I mean? We'll do to them what we did to you, you understand? What we did to Ricky and Robert. And Ricky and Robert so loyal, they'll be out here now, partner. But you out here and you by yourself. Where's Ricky and Robert, huh? Huh? Where's Ricky? Now, hold on, nothing. Where they at now, huh? Who got your back now? Nobody, huh? You done came to a fight with no game, partner, and now you handicapped. You know what I mean? You know what? I kick your ass right now. You know what I mean?
Well, here comes the commissioner, Bob Armstrong and his son Steve. And there go the gangsters. It's a little... Hey, I didn't...
My cane.
Get us... Let's get the cane here where you can stand up. Here, prop yourself up there. I don't know what's going on here, and I don't like it. I can tell you that right now.
All right, so we're going to stop there and we'll come back to Jim Cornette and Bullet Bob in a second. But I like this. This is not modern day wrestling where the guy comes out, talks for 10 minutes, and then his bitter rival comes to the ring to confront him. Cornette starts yapping about the gangsters, and they did not wait. They came right to the ring, and it's like, you know what? You're by yourself. There's no Ricky. There's no Robert. You're here by yourself, Cornette. Now run your mouth. And thankfully for Jim Cornette, of all people in the world, Bullet Bob Armstrong and Steve Armstrong made the save.
I started wondering if the whole Armstrong family was going to come out. I'm like, is Brad coming out? Is Road Dogg coming out? How many Armstrongs are we going to see?
I mean, I'm guessing Scott wasn't there because Scott and Steve have been a underneath tag team there for a little bit. So I think he was in Japan at this point. But yeah, Brad will be here later, and I don't think Brian comes back. He was here as a jobber under a mask for a while, but he never really had a run by himself.
All right. Well, to your point, I agree. This was excellent because it was not the cliched formula of one guy talks, then the other guy talks, then they stare each other in the eyes, then they do a little shoving, then 100 people come and break it up. No, this was, you want to talk it, we're going to take it. We're going to come to you and we're going to cut you off and see if you can handle it. And Bob Armstrong coming to save the day was probably the most ironic thing for Jim Cornette, given the two of them don't like each other, and they went out of their way to discuss that fact. In fact, you're probably going to play an audio clip where Cornette's like,
oh, yeah.
I'm going to say everything you want to say. He's a dog. He's trash. He's a backstabber.
Yep, that's coming up next. I just didn't want to play 7 straight minutes of audio here. And it's like, and it made sense because Jack points out, there's no Ricky or Robert because the whole point was that was a one-night thing where Cornette was going to be in the corner of the Rock and Roll Express. And even though Cornette sacrificed himself for the greater good there, it was still like, you know what? We like you and everything, but, it was a one-time thing. So why would the Rock and Rolls come running out here? So it made sense.
Mhm.
So after that, now we're going to pick things up from here with Cornette and Bob Armstrong in the ring to discuss whether or not the Heavenly Bodies suspension will be lifted, or not even the suspension, the stipulation will be lifted to allow them to come in for one night only.
Let me just say this. I'm out here not to do you any favors. I'm out here to keep law and order because that's my job as a new commissioner, as you understand. Absolutely. Now I understand you have a request of me. You wanted to ask me a question. I'm here to listen. Let's have it.
Let me get this out of the way first. Let me say what you want to say, Bob Armstrong. Jim Cornette's a jerk. Jim Cornette is a no-good, stinking, backbiting, back-jumping coward, okay? Let's get it all out in the open. That's what you're thinking. But I got a request to make to you today because, you know, when they call the police, when somebody commits a crime, when the cop gets there, he doesn't ask, well, was the victim a nice guy or was he a crummy guy? It's a crime regardless. And what I'm saying to you, I'm looking you in the eye. You don't owe me any favors. You owe me a lot. Oh, yeah. You owe me a lot of payback, more than you've given me. Because Christmas night, I found out what you felt like at the Volunteer Slam a couple of years ago in Knoxville when you had your own private hell going on at my hands and you couldn't get out of it. Because I was in the same position with the gangsters. Blood in my eyes, couldn't see. That nightstick coming down across my leg. You can still see the scars, you can still see the injuries. So I know what you felt like, Bob Armstrong, and I didn't like it. So what I'm saying to you is you realize when a crime's committed, there's got to be justice. And you wouldn't be the man that you say you are. You wouldn't have the principles that you've always said you stood for. You wouldn't be the commissioner that you have claimed to be all this time if you let a crime like that go unpunished. What I'm asking you, Bob Armstrong, is to let the Heavenly Bodies come back to Smoky Mountain Wrestling and kick the gangsters' butt. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I believe this. I believe that every American has a chance to defend himself. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't even believe in the Constitution. So I'm going to tell you this. If you believe that they can help you get even and defend yourself, if you think the Heavenly Bodies can do that, request granted.
All right, it's a done deal, it sounds like.
And let me say something to those gangsters. I don't know whether they're back here or hiding in a corner somewhere, but gangsters, you like to fight, brother? You want to fight? Well, you got one. Super Saturday Night Fever in Knoxville, because the Heavenly Bodies are coming back to town. And we don't care about rules, and we don't care about making friends, and we don't care about being nice. They say there's a heaven for those that'll wait. Some say it's better, but I say it ain't. I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints, because the sinners have much more fun. And the gangsters at Super Saturday Night Fever are gonna die young, brother. All right.
It had to be from a song, right?
What I wrote in my notes was Jim Cornette started rapping. I mean, he's cutting a promo worthy of New Jack himself here.
If I wrote it down word for word. And we don't care about rules, and we don't care about making friends, and we don't care about being nice. They say there's a heaven for those that'll wait. Some say it's better, but I say it ain't. I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints, because the sinners have much more fun, and the gangsters at Super Saturday Night Fever are gonna die young, brother.
Like, if I was a producer in the 90s and I could have made a phone call, I would have called Jim Cornette and said, brother, put that on wax. It'll sell 1 million.
And this really tells you something about audience manipulation. You have Jim Cornette, the most vile, hated manager in Southern wrestling. You know, he's been booed since 1983. You know, he is the scum of the earth, the lowest of the low. The Heavenly Bodies, they've had multiple incarnations in Smoky Mountain, but the thing that's always been the case, they are the dirtiest of the dirty, the lowest of the low, the scummiest heels imaginable. And the crowd pops like crazy for they're coming back to beat up the gangsters.
This pop was like, I know you said it's like 200, 400 people, but this pop was like 2,000 in the bingo hall in Philadelphia. Their reaction to this was electric.
It's electric. But yeah, and it again, it just shows audience manipulation. You know how they're able to get this over like that.
It reminds me of
Uh,
something I used to
I
say
used to
about
say
Steve
about Steve
Austin.
Austin.
He was never a nice guy, but the way they made fans like him was they put him against even worse guys. So he could be dirty and low down and nasty, but he was doing it to people who deserved it.
yeah. Okay, I'm about to go off on a little bit of a tangent that you might want to join in or, you know, cut me off at some point if I'm going too far off. But I was thinking about this the other day. Nowadays, if you complain on social media about something in wrestling that doesn't make sense, invariably someone will pop up and go, "Oh, don't you know that it's fake?" You know,
Mhm.
wrestling
Yeah.
didn't become fake the day of WrestleMania 17 when Austin shook hands with Vince. Everyone knew wrestling was fake before then, and wrestling was booming on the back of Steve Austin fighting his boss. Everyone knew deep down that when they went back behind the curtain, they probably shook hands and they probably had a huggy. But you know something? In front of the camera, they were bitter rivals. And it was real, damn it, until WrestleMania 17 when they shook hands and people turned out in droves. You
Yeah,
know,
that was a career death suicide angle. It should have buried everybody involved, and somehow miraculously all parties involved came back, but they took a huge credibility hit with that one. And the only thing I can compare it to is a few years later when Eric Bischoff came out on Raw and Vince McMahon hugged him. Like, really?
yeah,
Are we really doing this?
yes. Wrestling is fake, but Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff hate each other.
Right. There are
You know,
certain things you just accept as maxims that are true, and you enjoy the wrestling because in your head you can suspend disbelief. You know it's fake, but you want to believe because it makes it more fun to watch.
exactly. So don't give me this shit that, oh, it's fake, brother. It's like Steve Austin didn't go burn down Vince McMahon's house on Raw.
Hmm. The whole
But
it's fake thing, if I may go off on a tangent, nobody ever complains when a new Marvel Cinematic Universe movie comes out and says, "Oh, that's fake, right?" Well, motherfucker, I know that Thor's not out there with a hammer swinging it around at bad guys, okay? That doesn't mean I can't suspend disbelief for 2 hours in a movie theater.
that Avengers movie coming out in December is going to make $1 billion. And
Exactly.
spoiler alert, that movie is fake, you know?
Yes. It's like, why are we bringing up the fake thing? And it's ridiculous. Soap operas are fake, and millions of people watch them, and millions of dollars are made in advertising, and nobody complains. Hey, that soap opera is fake, right? Nobody fucking cares. We know it's fake. Nobody cares.
But by the way, that Avengers movie is going to make $1 billion based on $14 a ticket. They're not getting $1 billion because Netflix, gave them a 10-year TV deal.
Well,
Just saying.
they're also going to make $1 billion with distribution rights because they're going to sell a different package to every region of the globe, and they're all going to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for it.
Oh, they will, but that first billion is going to be made $14 a seat.
And
You know,
probably more than that in some cases because you get these deluxe movie theaters with the reclining seats, and they bring you hot food to your seat and treat
yep,
you like royalty, basically. And some people will pay for that upgraded experience just because it's a big movie and they want to have a night out with their family and have a good time.
exactly. So again, don't give me this shit about it's fake. Just whatever. It's like, there's a Dark Side of the Ring starting right now with Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher, and I honestly do not know that story, and I'm kind of interested in seeing what the hell it's all about. But guess what? It was
Oh,
fake when Samoa Joe wrestled Necro Butcher.
You
And
want you want to go on a tangent? I could go on a tangent.
sure.
I watch a YouTube channel called Whang, Whang. And about a year ago now, he actually did the story of the Samoa Joe Necro Butcher feud and how their match together became one of the bloodiest matches in the history of independent pro wrestling. And today he released a brand new video. And in the video, he mentions, I mean, this is the greatest coincidence ever. He mentions in the video that Evan Husney called him after seeing his YouTube video and said he wanted to make a Dark Side of the Ring episode because it was so good that he thought they should do that story too. So literally, the guy I watch on YouTube inspired a Dark Side of the Ring episode that is now airing. That the feud is completely fake, but Samoa Joe and Necro Butcher, for those 10, 12 minutes, made everybody believe they really wanted to kill each other.
Yep. Beat the champ, TB champion, Buddy Landell versus George South. I literally had very little to say about this. Robert Q. Harmon, I'm pretty sure, is gone. They mention him later on, but he's not here at the show. I doubt he's even at the taping. We'll see over the next few weeks. But either way, he's not coming back, even if he does make it to this taping. But Landell wins with a corkscrew elbow and a figure four. This was a good TV match. This is what happens when you get two credible, good pro wrestlers. You give them 5 minutes and have a pro wrestling match. It was a good match. Like, George South has no credibility. Like, he wasn't going to win, but he can certainly have a good TV match with Buddy Landell.
Historically, George South's role in professional wrestling has been the guy who shows up and makes other people look good. Pin me, pay me, as they would say. So that's exactly what he did here. He gave Landell most of the offense, made a small comeback at the end throwing punches. Then Landell did exactly what he was supposed to do. He bealed him, he dropped an elbow on him, and he put the figure four on him. And quickly, like lightning fast, George South submitted and the ref called for the bell. So it was a perfectly executed squash, which would not be possible if George South wasn't just as good of a worker as Buddy Landell. They both played their part.
Exactly. Now, the main story or the main draws of Super Saturday Night Fever, in addition to the returns of the Heavenly Bodies, is that there's this wacky double dip going on with Dirty White Boy and Buddy Landell. Buddy Landell is going to have a #1 contenders match against Tracy Smothers. However, as we've noted, he wanted a match with Dirty White Boy, the Smoky Mountain champion, but White Boy is already defending against Jerry Lawler. And then Buddy is bit off more than he could chew last week because he's going to get his match against White Boy at Super Saturday Night Fever, but it's going to be a non-title, unsanctioned match. So Buddy and White Boy both have to have their regular matches before they have their unsanctioned match against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to have a bunch of promos here back to back to back, although the Jerry Lawler one's a repeat. But let's go first to Buddy Landell after winning his match and being $1,000 richer.
Super Saturday Night Fever in Knoxville. You've got double duty. Tracy Smothers one-on-one, the #1 contender on the line, the contendership on the line in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but also a lights-out, non-sanctioned match. Smoky Mountain wants nothing to do with your non-title matchup with a Dirty White Boy, buddy.
Well, let me tell you something, Jim Ross, a lesser man couldn't go out January the 28th and wrestle 2 times. But we're not talking about the normal guy here. We're talking about the nature boy, Buddy Landell. And I don't care if it's George South or Tracy Smothers, whoever it is. Tracy, I'm going to go through you like wind through a goose, brother. And then let me tell you something. Dirty White Boy, don't count your chickens before your eggs are hatched, brother, because you have to beat Jerry Lawler. And then the nature boy, Buddy Landell's going to beat you. You might not be the champion when you wrestle me that night. But you want to know something? Somebody's missing today. My good agent, Robert Q. Harmon. And the Q stands for loophole. You see, My man Harmon is out trying to find some way to get me a title match. But we got some tricks up our sleeve. Tracy Smothers, it's lights out for you. White boy, if you beat Jerry Lawler, then you worry about the Nature Boy Buddy Landell.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking more about Super Saturday Night Fever as the program.
Okay, so I feel bad for Tracy Smothers because he is such an afterthought in this, but with the story of both Buddy and White Boy wrestling twice, Landell had to wrestle somebody, and Tracy is getting out of his feud with Bryant Anderson and doesn't really have anything to do at this point. So like Tracy's being thrown in like, oh yeah, and Buddy's gonna wrestle Tracy Smothers. Like Tracy gets no promo time this week, and like I said, he's being treated like an afterthought in this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who isn't even here is more important. Like they go out of their way to point out Robert Q. Harmon, and the Q stands for loophole. Like okay, he's more important than Tracy Smothers here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know you didn't see Robert Q. Harmon, but like he was like Jack Tunney levels of terrible. And in some ways, I mean that is a good thing because Jack Tunney was like a great WWF president because he was so bland and like, whatever. So like Robert Q. Harmon was supposed to be a sports agent, and it's like he's not supposed to be super off the walls and whatnot. But at the same time, he made for bad television to watch him cut promos with Buddy.
Well, yeah, Jack Tunney is probably the perfect comparison, even though I've never seen him, Robert Q. Harmon, that is. Because Jack Tunney, you did not want to hear him talk, but at least when he talked, you knew he had something important to say. Like, he was not colorful, he was not funny, he was not a sports entertainer, but if Jack Tunney made a ruling on the WWF title, it mattered.
Exactly. And the only funny thing, or the only good thing Robert Q. Harmon ever did, and it was actually funny, was when Buddy won the Beat the Champ, he got his $1,000 check, and he's there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so rich, I don't need this $1,000 check," and he gives it to JR and puts it in JR's pocket. And while Buddy keeps cutting his promo in the background, Robert Q. Harmon takes the check out of JR's pocket and puts it in his own.
Okay, yeah, that is very much a sports agent maneuver, so I applaud him for that.
Yes. So the Jerry Lawler promo, this is one of the times I kind of wish Trey was here because I'm not entirely sure whether or not this was a replay. Because the problem is like all these Lawler promos, they cut them at the same time. It's in the same locker room and set up in front of the same lockers, and he's saying the same thing. And so I'm not sure whether or not this was new or not, except that even if it was new, he said the exact same thing. We've heard it 3 times already. Knoxville sucks. Memphis is the only great part of Tennessee, and I'm coming to beat the White Boy for the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight title. Now, you haven't seen Lawler cut the same promo 3 times, but that's the general gist of all these promos.
Which
what
is
are
why
your thoughts on?
I had a lot of questions about this, actually, because
Sure.
I felt like in the area that Smoky Mountain Wrestling is popular, Jerry the King Lawler would also be popular. However, in this promo, he's absolutely going out of his way to tear down Knoxville and say he'll know he's there because he'll be able to smell the trash when he gets out of his car. Like, wow. I would have thought if I was the booker, I would have brought in Jerry the King Lawler as like the local legend from Memphis, the king, the former multi-time world champion. And here they're presenting him as a bad guy. And then literally a minute later, they air a music video, which makes him look like he should be the triumphant hero who's packing his bags and going out his front door and going to do business, set to some brilliant music. It's like, which is it? Is he a heel? Is he a face? What is he supposed to be? Well, I guess he's a tweener.
No, he's definitely a heel in this promotion. And like the thing is, like you said, like kind of what you said, if they wanted to make him a babyface, it would have been so easy. He's the king of Memphis, Tennessee, and he's coming in. They need an extra heel this month, basically. And Lawler, I'm assuming when they did the NWA title tournament in New Jersey that Lawler mentioned, Cornette asked him if he'd come in and work a month or two because he's not here for very long. I don't even think he makes it to the February Knoxville show. I could be wrong, but I don't even think he makes it that long. But yeah, like they could easily make him the king of Memphis and be the babyface here. But also, it's like it's Jerry Lawler. In many ways, he makes for a better heel than a babyface. And the funny thing is, they show this Jerry Lawler music video, but it's so a 1980s music video. I don't know when in the 80s because Memphis isn't really my, I don't have a lot of Memphis history in my head. But like they're showing like Lawler, he has the goatee and everything like that is so 84, 85 Lawler. They're showing a lot of Mid-South or not Mid-South. The arena in Memphis Mid-South Coliseum. That was right. The Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. They're showing a lot of footage from there. And I mean, like you said, yeah, it in a lot of ways it makes him look like a baby face. But I doubt Cornette put this together. It's probably one that aired on Memphis TV at some point. And that's that.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting juxtaposition of events. And you're right, it felt like an old school 1980s music video, but it definitely presented Lawler in a much better light than he presented Knoxville.
Yeah. But in some ways, you could say that's actually a good thing because Lawler's coming in to challenge for the title, and you want him to be a threat. And especially since the program isn't even him and White Boy, it's White Boy and Landell. So you got to do something to try to like get the focus on Lawler. But yeah,
Well, the
we're
one
saying
thing that definitely
the
became
execution could have been
clear,
better.
right? But I think Dirty White Boy did save it with his promo because once he cut his fiery speech about Lawler, it was clear there was no doubt who the real hero was. And the way they were responding to Tony Anthony, they knew who the real hero was.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's go to JR with the Dirty White Boy.
You said Jerry the King Lawler is coming for the gold on January 28th in Knoxville. But we also heard earlier in the broadcast some comments from Nature Boy Buddy Landell. What are your thoughts? This has got to be the most challenging night of your entire career, wrestling two superstars in one night.
There's no doubt in anybody's mind about that. Jerry the King Lawler didn't get where he's at by being at the bottom of the totem pole. He's worked hard through his career to be on top. He's a double tough man. But Jerry the King Lawler, you come out here and you trash myself, and you go around and you trash all the people in East Tennessee. Talking about the only place in Tennessee is Memphis. Well, brother, we've got a major college right here. It goes by the name of University of Tennessee. That's right, baby. Not no Ricky Dink little Memphis State. So, big boy, you're coming into my backyard after this bone. Well, this big dog bites, and I don't share this bone with anybody. And as far as the Nature Boy Buddy Landell is concerned, after I get away from Lawler, after it's all over with, win, lose, or draw, it doesn't matter to me. That's when the fun's going to start. Because then you've got to crawl in the ring against me. You've trashed me. You've trashed my family. I'm getting sick and tired of your loud mouth. So what's going to happen in K-Town, Nature Boy? Woo! Buddy Landell, is I'm going to stomp a mud hole in you. Then I'm going to walk it dry. And if there's anything left, I'm going to sweep that underneath the mat. Like it or not, Landell, I'm coming for you in K-Town.
All right. I gotta say, one of the issues I'm having right now is I kind of want to see both programs, and instead of having White Boys, everything split up, I'd like to see him have a long program with Lawler and then a long program with Buddy Landell. But instead, we're getting these split up promos here where he's having to plug two different matches because this is like wrestling has started sprinkling in the multi-man matches, and we've had 3-ways in this promotion already. We've had 4-ways in this promotion already, but it's not every week on TV we're gonna have a 3-way match kind of thing. So 3-ways are still a special thing. So we're not having a 3-way. We're having 2 singles matches coming up at Super Saturday Night Fever. But like I said, part of me, I'd really like to see these 2 programs separate and getting their own time to have a program.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Anthony was such an effective promo here that he sold both matches on one show when both matches could have been put on two separate premium live events, as they're now called. Like, you could have had the match with Lawler on one, you could have had the other match on another, and they would have both sold tickets. They both would have put asses in seats, I use air quotes to say.
And I heard somebody once say the Dirty White Boy was these guys' Steve Austin. These fans, that was their Steve Austin. It's like, you can totally see that, you know?
In fact, listening to them react to him, hearing the fire in his voice, all I was thinking was, how did this guy not become a worldwide, global professional wrestling icon? Like, if you saw this promo and heard these fans, you would have thought he was shooting straight to the moon.
Yeah. And I mean, the problem is, like, he never really got an opportunity, probably because, he's not the most aesthetically pleasing looking pro wrestler. But it's like he goes to the WWF as TL Hopper when they're bringing in everybody, to be a step above enhancement talent. That's when Tracy Smothers came in as Freddie Joe Floyd, and that's when we got the Goon. And it's like he was not coming in to set the world on fire as TL Hopper. He was coming in to do a job and get paid. And sadly, White Boy never really got that chance. Like, even Tracy, Tracy had a bit of a botched run in WCW, but the thing is, Tracy got a run in WCW. Like, White Boy never made it out of, these Knoxville territories.
No, sadly, he did not. But at least in retrospect, watching it, you can feel the excitement. And
yeah.
there's really, you've hit this point already, and I'm going to hit this point again. There's something to be said for the feeling when you watch a show like this, because the formulaic nature of a Raw on Netflix is wrestler A cuts promo, wrestler B cuts promo, then they have a stare down, then they tussle. This does not give you that feeling. This gives you the unpredictable ECW-esque feeling of anything can happen at any time. And Dirty White Boy could have said something that pissed off somebody so bad they could have run in and jumped on him. You had that feeling that at any moment shit could hit the fan.
Yeah. Now, you've watched this week's episode, and you saw up next they had a commercial for Super Saturday Night Fever running down the card. Would you say this was a card that if you had the opportunity to go to, would you have gone out of your way to go see it?
Shit. If I lived anywhere within 100 miles of Knoxville, I would have been there if I saw this promo.
Yeah.
If I saw this episode and no other episodes of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, I would have been there for Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, the day before the Super Bowl. I mean, I kind of like that's kind of why they called it Super Saturday Night Fever, just to like get it in people's heads. It's Super Bowl weekend, But yeah. By the way, I had to laugh. The catchphrase for it was "Catch the Fever" by going to Super Saturday Night Fever. I don't know if that would encourage me to go, telling me to go catch the fever.
Also, besides the viral implications when none of us want to catch a fever, let alone the explosive diarrhea going around, I think there's a WNBA team that would probably sue over that. If that promo was used these days, they'd be like, wait a minute.
Indiana Fever. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
I can't remember her goddamn name all of a sudden. Caitlin Clark.
Yes, exactly.
Caitlin Clark will not be going to Knoxville.
She's a name I'm well familiar with because she played for the University of Iowa, and being that I'm a former Iowan, anything to do with Iowa or Iowa State automatically becomes big news. And Caitlin's run was like the biggest news possible.
Yeah. And I like that, like, she is a star. I'm sorry, everybody else in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark is a star. And I'm not saying you have to drop to your knees and bow before her, but she's the reason you guys got a really good contract from the players with the players union last time. Like, she's the reason why the WNBA is getting more attention and why more people are going to games. Like when I was looking for games to go to, I did look at the Indiana game in Connecticut. The tickets were so expensive and they were selling. Like,
Mhm.
it's the thing with wrestling. It's like, are tickets too expensive if people are paying for those prices? You know?
I would say it was like Michael Jordan in the 90s. The rising tide lifts all boats. He was so big that everybody else in the NBA got bigger just by association.
Yeah. And that's not to say Caitlin Clark is Michael Jordan. Maybe things won't work out great for her, but something right now, ride the wave while you can. Enjoy the extra attention as long as you can get it.
Absolutely, yeah. Jim Cornette himself would say it if he was cutting a promo. I'm not here for a long time, but I'm here for a good time. Like make that money while you can.
Yep. All right. So speaking of people not here for a long time, let's go to the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Suicide Blonde Chris Candido, who's with Jim Ross. And they're talking about Tammy and Boo.
Welcome back, everyone, to Smoky Mountain Wrestling here with Chris Candido. And, of course, Miss Tammy Fitch has been suspended from Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm sure you got some thoughts on that.
Shut up. Yeah, it's quite obvious something's missing out here because Boo Bradley's crying, whining, and complaining about the way we treated him and about what we did to that stupid, ridiculous cat of his. Tammy Fitch has been suspended and she can no longer come to the ring with me. But with everything I've ever done in my career, any title I've ever won, the thing that meant the most to me, the thing I'm happiest about, was what I did to that stupid little cat of Boo Bradley's.
Oh, come on. How can you be proud of that?
Because you saw right there Christmas night as I had that cat down in the middle of the ring and I climbed to the top rope and I dropped the leg on that little cat. Not only did I feel the life leave that cat's body, but I felt the life leave the body of Boo Bradley. Because Boo, that night right there was the end of our friendship, brother. Because every place you've been and everything you've done was all because of me. So Boo, now you want me in the ring? That's fine. Because I'm going to treat you just like a dog. I'm going to treat you worse than a dog because you're not a dog. You're not a man. You're stupider than a dog. At least a dog can do what his master tells him. You never listened to me once. So Boo, now you want me in the ring? That's fine. I'm going to treat you worse than a dog. I'm going to finish you once and for all and squish you just like I did that stupid cat.
It's so corny. It's so cartoony. It's like I'm almost at the point where I can't even be mad anymore. It's like they showed him hitting a leg drop on the cat 4 times. He did it once. They showed it 4 times, like he did it 4 times. But it's like it's such a cartoon. Like it's everything. And this is what's hilarious to me. It's like, and the whole thing is Smoky Mountain Wrestling. It's supposed to be pro wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Well, why the hell are we killing cats on the show?
That's a good question. Also, if it's pro wrestling the way it used to be, I suppose we could say it's the snake in the bag getting squashed when we all knew it was just a bunch of hamburger meat.
Yes. And the one thing is and we talked about this last week, that is the epitome of WWF cartoon wrestling is Earthquake squishing Jake's snake Damien.
Yeah, that was
But again,
an absolute cartoon, and I get that this is an absolute cartoon too. Even so, even knowing what I know, it got under my skin just a little bit that we're using a dead cat as an angle. Maybe because I lost a cat that I had for 18 years very recently, but that stung a little. Like you're taking pride in killing a cat. It worked on me. Like as cartoony as it is, it actually worked on me.
and the funny thing is, like, the story is they're suspending Tammy. Now, I know the real reason why Tammy's the person who got suspended, but in reality, Chris Candido murdered the cat. Admittedly, Tammy was, for this. She was not discouraging Candido from killing a cat, but Tammy's the one that got suspended. Now, they did say last week that both were suspended, and Boo and Cactus Jack begged for Candido to not be suspended. But like in reality, why was Tammy suspended at all? Now, the real reason is because Tammy more or less is already gone. Like she's going to be back for a little bit next month, but like she's already doing those WWF local promos as Tamara Murphy. And so that's where she was at this point. She was taping promos for the WWF. And Candido was on his way out the door too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also why this angle feels so rushed, because we were talking about it. Boo just came in September, and we're already doing the blow off to them breaking up, and now they're going to have some matches before Candido leaves. Spoiler alert.
Right. It does feel rushed, even though this is the first time I'm joining you for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. You don't get the feeling that they had much choice other than to just, we got to put a bow on this, get everything we can out of it while we can.
Yeah. Now, and it's just fairness, like Tammy's been here for a year and a half, going on 2 years. Candido's been here almost as long on TV. Like, he was here the whole time, but like it was a few months later when he officially debuted. It was time for them to go. Like, they had done everything that they could do. But at the same time, it really still came from out of nowhere that it was time for them to leave.
Well, when has Tamara Lynn Sitch ever had a graceful exit anywhere?
Nowhere, literally. Like, storyline or not. Oh, God. So this week's Smoky Mountain Hotline question. Should Smoky Mountain Wrestling suspend Tammy? We kind of already discussed that. I say that, like, you can't not suspend Candido or unsuspend Candido and leave Tammy in suspension in storyline, because, like, Candido is the one that committed the murder, Your Honor. You know, Tammy may have been an accomplice, but you can't drop the murder charges and still charge the accomplice.
Yeah, well, it's wrestling is the only thing I can say about that. I certainly wouldn't call a 1-900 number and spend $2.99 a minute or whatever they were charging just to vote on that, because no.
99 cents. You know, it's fun. It's 1-900-73 Smoky. I've seen that commercial a lot. And it's only been going on since October.
Even for 99 cents in that year, in that era, I would have had better things to do with 99 cents. I could go rent a VHS tape at movies for 99 cents, and I'd spend it on that instead.
It like 99 cents to 95, I think it comes out to like $2.25, $2.50 nowadays.
Right,
So,
like the price of a Hershey bar at a convenience store. I'd rather buy a Hershey bar than call 1-900-57 Smoky or whatever.
So at this point, I was literally like, during the Candido promo, I was like, what the hell is the main event of this show? And I'm like, I was searching my brain, and I'm like, I didn't even bother to like scroll up to read my notes. I'm like, what did they say the main event was? And I'm like, I could not figure it out. Well, we have a debut. And JR is going to randomly talk about the hotline here, and someone is going to walk on camera. And this is going to be a weird-ass story to unfold over the next few weeks. But let's go to JR right now.
Hotline, and I can't believe what I'm seeing here. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert is here, and what are you doing here in Smoky Mountain Wrestling? I didn't know you were going to be here.
Well,
What are you looking at?
just to be honest with you, I didn't really know I was going to be here either. But see, there's been some things happening, Mr. Ross, in Smoky Mountain Wrestling lately that's kind of disturbed me a little bit. More than disturbed me, it's just kind of bothered me a little bit. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of places that would say, what is Eddie Gilbert doing in Smoky Mountain Wrestling? Just like you just did. You just said that. I did. And I'll tell you exactly why. Not too long ago, Smoky Mountain Wrestling took it upon themselves, and they decided they were going to honor some legends of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, some people that made a good name for wrestling in Smoky Mountain Wrestling around Knoxville, Tennessee, and Johnson City, and up in Kentucky and Virginia, and all around this area. Well, then they had this big list. And I remember, now correct me if I'm wrong, they had like this old man, Ron Wright, and then they had his brother, Don Wright, and then I heard some talk about this legend that's no longer with us, Whitey Caldwell, somebody by that name. And then I even remember it even went this far. It went this for. They even talked about it and gave some kind of certificate to the guy that was the star of My Three Sons. Used to referee here, Mac McMurray.
Mac McMurray, he was there.
Mac McMurray gave Mac a little certificate to put up on his wall.
He deserved it.
Oh yeah, he deserves a lot, and I'd like to give him one right now. And then, the lowest thing they did, though, the lowest thing that anyone could ever do to me, not only did they do all that stuff to those people, but they overlooked my father, Tommy Gilbert. Tommy Gilbert was the greatest legend ever to step foot in the rings in Smoky Mountain Wrestling in the history. He didn't get any notification.
Wait. They tried to call him. They did try to call him. I know that for a fact. They really did.
The only way they may have tried to call my dad was collect with their reputation here. But no one called my dad. No one told him to come. And then what really kills me is they even sent and they gave a tape and a plaque to that old bald eagle, that old has-been referee, Ricky Morton's father, Paul Morton. Paul Morton's nothing but a wino, and he lives in Nashville, Tennessee right now, and he's doing nothing but driving a cab out there at the Nashville International Airport. He didn't deserve anything. My father deserves a legend plaque. He deserves a plaque, Lamb Jim Ross. He deserves a plaque. Why did you give him a plaque? He deserves a plaque. What? I need to what?
Get a hold of yourself.
I need to get a hold of myself.
Well, here's...
They gave Paul Morton the stupid plaque.
You trying to piss me off, boy? Huh? You know one thing that I did learn from Jimmy Cornette? That is, there's no more Mr. Nice Guy bullcrap. You know, I'm tired of ever Tom, Dick, and Harry coming here to Smoky Mountain Wrestling and putting my dad's name in the breath of it. Buddy, you want something with me?
If he deserves it, someone ought to say it.
He deserves
it. He's nothing but a bum.
Oh, yeah?
A bum, that's all he is.
I'll tell you what, baby. I'll tell you what. You're here for a reason.
Yeah.
This right here is not WCW, where you know somebody, where you can wrestle. Right here, it's got to be your own self.
Yeah.
So you step your butt in that ring right now, and me and you will fight.
Is that a challenge?
Oh, that's more.
Well, you got it. You got it.
We got it.
All right, we're going to have this match, ladies and gentlemen.
So I am really conflicted with this promo. And this is one of those times I wish Trey was here, because we're watching Mid-South Wrestling from 10 years before this. And Eddie Gilbert is on there. And he is so aged in 10 years. And I know, obviously, he aged 10 years. But like Ricky Morton, other than the fact that like facially he looks 10 years older, Ricky Morton in 1985 and Ricky Morton in 1995 are the same fucking guy. Eddie Gilbert is almost a completely different person at this point. And it's like weird. I'm like, I know he went through some hard times, and that the Eddie Gilbert shoot interview had come out like a year or two before this, the famous one where he talks about all the shit that he's gone through. But even like if you watch his run in ECW in '93, it's almost like he's a completely different person from then. And it gets creepier, and we'll get to this at the end of the episode. But it's even creepier when you consider what all is going on in real life right now, and what's about to happen in real life. And I'm like, Eddie, it's like his promo, it's like, I can't tell if he's like the greatest worker of all time, or if we should have been having intervention for him in January of '95.
Well, as you said, there's context here that viewers in 1995 would not have had. And I've seen the dark side of the ring about Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, and that context is unshakable watching this even in retrospect, because his life was rapidly falling to pieces, multiple times divorced, multiple times fired, kind of out of control at all times. And tragically, he would not be with us on this earth much longer after this. So It was an amazing promo, but it was also amazingly unhinged, which I guess you wouldn't be Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert if you weren't completely out of your mind, which you certainly got the feeling that he was.
Indeed. I will say anybody who bashes Mr. Ron Wright on this show, automatic heel. How dare you besmirch the legend, Mr. Ron Wright? But
Yeah.
I liked it, and it's kind of weird because like I know they're just bringing him in now, but like his big thing is he's mad because they had the Night of the Legends in August, and they didn't bring in his dad Tommy Gilbert to, make a big deal about him and give him an award and whatnot. And JR's like, we tried calling him, and he's like, oh, you tried calling him Collect, I'm sure. And then the funny thing is like Ricky Morton comes out pissed off. He's like, I'm tired of all these people talking about my dad. This is like the third time somebody on this show has talked shit about Ricky Morton's dad. So it's like, I, for one, is happy Ricky is like fed up with this shit. Like, I am tired of you motherfuckers constantly coming here talking about my dad.
I am so glad you asked me to do the show this week, and I'm so glad that I wore a Rock and Roll Express shirt this week, and I did not know any of those things were going to happen all at the same time. And you mentioned Trey many times, and I'll be the first to admit I'm not Trey, but what a week,
You're
what a
not?
time to bring me in. No, I'm definitely
Good.
not. And I apologize to Trey for being a poor substitute, but at the same time, I'm like, you could not have timed this any better for me. I was in love with this promo, and the fact that Ricky Morton got pissed off white hot, like this is one of those things where you don't tell wrestlers what to say, you just give them bullet points and let them go. And
Yep.
Hot Stuff hit all the bullet points, and Ricky Morton was probably told, you're supposed to be pissed off, now go out there and be pissed off. And it didn't take him much because he was he was as mad as anybody would naturally be when somebody talks shit about your dad.
Yep. Um, and so yeah, Ricky Morton's like, you know what? Let's get in the ring and fight. He kind of stumbled over his words at the end, but the gist of it was there. You want to wrestle? Let's get in the ring and wrestle. And so we go to commercial, we come back, and I know I got to play, whatever, devil's advocate. And I know he came out to do his promo in his tights. Eddie Gilbert did not work for this company 5 minutes ago, and he's got entrance music. And he's got a chyron ready to show his name on the bottom of the screen. It's like, okay, how much did Eddie really wander out of nowhere? When he's got tights, music, and a chyron.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure that even in the state he was in, he still had enough friends in Smoky Mountain that if they asked him to come or if he asked to come, they would have prepared all of those things for him.
oh, definitely. Yeah, I just mean from a shoot perspective, you know, he's coming in out of nowhere and he's got tights, music, and a chyron.
Which is
But
also one of those suspension of disbelief moments. Like, yeah, if you really think about it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that a guy just shows up and has music, but just ignore
yeah,
that.
exactly. Now this was a fairly perfectly fine main event match. We did have to do a shot of the crowd, which you don't know this, but when they do a shot of the crowd during the match, it's because there was a botched spot and they're covering it up. Um, so we got that here. But the finish saw Eddie get knocked out of the ring with a punch. He knocks Ricky down with a shoulder block to the stomach and does a slingshot into the ring. And it's like a perfectly timed slingshot because like he slingshots into the ring in just enough space that he lands with his feet on the ropes while covering Morton. And it's like you could not have timed that any better if you tried. And Eddie picked up the win in his debut.
And immediately, like without hesitation, Robert Gibson ran out to argue with the referee that this was bony and not a believable finish and it shouldn't have counted.
Yep. And Eddie Gilbert, because Mark Curtis is like, wait, what did you do? And he's like rolling out of the ring and he's like, I'm gone. He wasn't staying around to argue whether or not he cheated.
Like a good heel should, he picked up the win and hightailed it out.
Well, we go to commercial. We come back for a show closing promo because, hey, Eddie's got to take up the last third of the show. And he's back with JR here to end the show.
See, what I tell you, I beat Ricky Morton with the Luthez press. What? A hold that Luthez himself taught me. I just beat him with. And what happens? Robert Gibson shows up. Where one goes, the other goes. 2-on-1, is it, boys? 2-on-1. I beat Ricky Morton fair. I beat him square. And he just cannot stand it. You can't stand it. You can't stand it. You can't stand it. See?
What's wrong with you?
See? Now they're going to beat me up.
Well,
Now they're going to try to beat me up.
maybe you deserve it, Eddie. Now, hold on. Keep your composure, guys, at least for my sake, will you?
Okay. I tell you what. I see one. I see two. I just see one of me standing here. You two guys are the legendary team here. I tell you what. I tell you what. Why don't you two guys meet me and a partner of my choice next time? Huh?
Sleep me once, shame on you. Sleep me twice, shame on me. Bring yourself a partner. We'll be right here next week. Show us what you got. Hot stuff.
All right, well, whoever Gilbert's partner's going to...
All right. They had that graphic queued up for next week's tag match. JR popped me. Because Eddie, being a good heel, like he's like, I beat him with a Luthez press. And so I was like, what?
I also like
Because
JR going, gentlemen, maintain your composure for my sake. Like, that is effective storytelling right there. Like, he doesn't care if they fight. He just doesn't want to get caught in the fracas.
Exactly. And like Eddie Gilbert, like mocking him like a child. He's like, oh, they're coming to beat me up now. They're coming to beat me up. It's like, well, maybe you deserve it, Eddie. And so we're going to
This
go
is
tag
what-
match next week. Go ahead.
This is where you almost wonder whether Eddie was really, I mean, we know Eddie's life was unraveling, but wow, how much of that did he plan, and how much of that was just completely making it up on the fly? Because it definitely sounded, like you said, it sounded like a little kid taunting somebody on the playground. You can't touch me. You can't touch me.
I wrote, we are literally watching the death of Eddie Gilbert, which
Sadly,
I know,
yes.
yeah. Like we mentioned at the beginning, this show or this month was taped on January 2nd. And so we're getting a month of Eddie Gilbert, more or less. Whatever happens, happens, because the next taping is on February 6th, but he's gone. He's still with us, but he doesn't show up again after this TV taping. And then he passes away on February 18th.
In Puerto
In
Rico.
a month. Yeah. And it's like, I knew this was coming, but it's like, it is still a little, like that kind of thing. Yeah. And Eddie
There's
is
an
not.
eerie pall over this show. There's no denying it or avoiding it, but it doesn't make it less entertaining to watch it.
Yeah. No, not at all. And we're gonna get 3 more weeks of Eddie. I know he has 2 more matches. He has the tag match next week, and then he has another match the week after. And I'm interested in seeing if they mention his death on TV. Now, I tried to find some YouTube stuff. The only TV mention I found of him was the USWA did a TV mention of his death. I don't know if I'd be surprised or not if Smoky Mountain acknowledges it. Like, in some ways, I would be surprised if they don't, and I'd be surprised if they do.
It really could go either way. Like I said earlier, he still had friends. There were still people who liked him. It's just he had issues. He had problems.
Yeah. And so yeah, he this according to the always reliable Wikipedia, he worked one night for Smoky Mountain Wrestling, which is here, before traveling to World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico to wrestle and book, and his last match was against the Bear. Cage Match does not acknowledge the Bear match. They acknowledge his Smoky Mountain matches as his last matches, which I guess it's his last matches against humans.
Yeah, I don't think Cage Match needs to have man versus bear in their database. Let's not even encourage them to keep track of that, keep records of that. Let's just pretend those things don't even exist.
Sounds good. All right. Well, 155 down, 45 to go. It's the final year of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We are 45 episodes to go. It's sad, honestly. Like, we've been loving this promotion and we knew the end had to come and it's coming up quickly. But
Oh,
before we go,
their tagline is apt. It's wrestling the way you want it, and it should be. It should be like this. It should be like this today.
yeah. So before we go, we'd like to tell you what else happened in the world of wrestling to give you some context, because I can tell you January 14th, 1995 until I'm blue in the face. But this gives you some context as to what else is happening in the world of wrestling. Unfortunately, this week, I guess there wasn't a whole lot of news because Dave spent a lot of time talking about the year in review and talking about Hogan's run in WCW so far and whether or not he's moved business enough to the point that WCW should sign him to a longer term contract. Because people don't remember this, he was only signed to a 6-month contract, which is up at this point, and so they're negotiating a longer, deal between the two sides. He also talked about the upcoming Super Brawl 5 pay-per-view, which is the first Hogan Vader match, which includes a lot of people preposterously thinking that Vader was going to shoot on Hogan in that match. And I'm going to spoil things for you right now. Vader does not shoot on Hulk Hogan, brother.
No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. A big move happened this week as the guy who lost in the second match at Starrcade 94 to Alex Wright, Jean-Paul Levesque, gave notice to WCW that he is leaving and turning down a promised tag title run with Steven Regal as his partner for an opportunity in the WWF. I think things work out pretty well for the guy. He didn't get his tag title run with Mr. Regal, but I think things worked out for him.
So the man once known as Terror Rising is going to go on to terrorize a different promotion altogether.
Yes. And oh my God, did you I guess the new season of WWE Unreal came out today. And
no, I did not watch it. I refuse.
I haven't watched any of it. But anyway, people are sharing that Triple H decided that Braun Breaker shouldn't win the Royal Rumble because they were worried that the fans are going to think that he's being pushed down their throat. And hey, if there's one person in this world who would know about a wrestler being shoved down people's throats, it's Triple H.
The reason you've asked me many times why I'm so enthralled with the early days of TNA when it was on weekly Wednesday night pay-per-views, and it was because I couldn't stand Triple H. No matter how bad the Wednesday night TNA shows were, good, bad, or awful, it was an alternative to the Triple H reign of terror.
The funny thing is, if at the time I had the ability to have pay-per-view and buy pay-per-views, I probably would have thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm. For me and my buddies, it was just fun. It was just, oh my God, wrestling we could actually enjoy instead of another boring 20-minute promo from Paul.
Well, speaking of people named Paul, a 7'1" protege of Larry Sharp was backstage at a WCW house show trying to get a job. It's said that this guy has only had one match in his life. That man's name is Paul White.
Well, it's the Giants.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like people really I don't know if people really understand this. Maybe it's not that big of a deal now, but it certainly was a big deal for years. The second match in his career was a pay-per-view main event against Hulk Hogan.
And they were literally describing him as the son of Andre the Giant. They weren't even being shy or coy about it, which, to his credit, Paul has very much come out in the years since in many interviews and said, that was terrible. I didn't want them to do that. I hated it, but I took the money. I had to.
Exactly. And like, I'm not even saying that. Like, again, it's his second ever match. He's in a pay-per-view main event against the biggest star of the 80s, Hulk Hogan. Like, that's one of those things that make you like go, wow. You
Well,
know,
let's I don't know how many matches Undertaker had in WCW as Mean Mark Callis, but how many matches did he have in WWF before he faced Hogan at Tuesday in Texas?
I mean, he was there for a year at that point, but he had also
Okay.
had, he had done house shows with Hogan up to that point. So it's like, it was not their first ever match. It's first ever TV match with Survivor Series week 4. But the
Yeah.
funny thing is, like, and this is blasphemy, I know, because obviously the Big Show ends up being like a really big star and things working out. This was just another case of Hogan trying to relive his glory days, because the Giant was not brought in because they're like, oh man, this is going to be a big star. The Giant was brought in because they were going to build him as a son of Andre. For the same reason the Renegade was brought in. Like, the Renegade was not brought in because they were like, oh man, he's going to be a world champion star. No, it's because they wanted to try to get him over to a point where they could have Hogan beat him to quote unquote avenge his loss to Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania, because they couldn't afford Warrior's asking price in '95.
This is
Like,
why when people call Hulk Hogan a poison pill, it's exactly what happens wherever he goes. He has to keep revisiting the past, and if they have to hire his friends to do it, they will. And if he has to get people that look like the people he used to wrestle, they will. It's the price you pay when you bring in Hulk Hogan is, if you want him, you're going to give him whatever he wants, and whatever he wants is you to spend a lot of money so he can look like $1 million.
and people don't remember this because it never happened, but he was trying desperately to get Bischoff to bring in Yokozuna in the late '90s so he could get his win back from King of the Ring. And the only reason it didn't happen was because Yokozuna was so out of shape he couldn't pass a state athletic commission physical. And that's when people say, who's got the bigger ego, Hogan or Triple H? I'll tell you what, Triple H, there was never a story that Triple H tried to get Vince to bring in Alex Wright so he could get his win back over Alex Wright.
And to be fair, and this is not really going that far, I would say in the ring, Paul Levesque is a much better wrestler than Terry Bollea.
You're really going on a limb there, aren't you?
I know, big surprise, right? But
Yeah.
like, as credible technicians in the ring go, I never once doubted anything Paul did. Like, he could sell well, he could work well. He even, at times when he wasn't a complete piece of backstage politicking piece of shit, he could actually get the fans behind him and enjoy him. Like in his DX days, people loved his antics.
I still say John Cena is a better worker. And how I define this is who had better matches against the same people. And like, Cena and Triple H were together for quite a while in the WWE at the same time. And go back and watch. They both had pay-per-view matches against Booker T, against Umaga, against the fucking Great Khali. John Cena had 3 matches against the Great Khali, and they got to what could be described as a good match. Like, it wasn't a 5-star Kenny Omega Matt Classic, but it was certainly a passably good match. Triple H had a match with the Great Khali, and the less said about that, the better. Triple H had matches against Umaga. Less said, the better. Triple H had a WrestleMania match against Booker T. Less said, the better. You know,
Uh, that Booker T match is actually the tipping point for me with Triple H. When Booker T lost that match at WrestleMania, that's when I started looking for alternatives.
yeah. Because guys like Booker T didn't win world titles, and it's they went racist and then like backed off because they were afraid of being racist. It's almost like if you're gonna do it, just do it. Because afterwards, and people actually forget this part, which in my opinion is for the better. Hunter tried to say after, like, later on, after they'd already done the people like you don't win world titles, obviously meaning what he meant. He tried like, oh, he meant entertainers don't win world titles. That is not what you meant, motherfucker.
No, I knew it. He knew it. We knew it. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that there was a point where Ric Flair told Booker T to carry his bag. And we knew what he meant by that, too.
And like the thing is too, and it's like you couldn't put the toothpaste back in the tube at that point. However, the original plan was for Booker to win the world title, and that's why they did the racism angle. But then when they changed their mind, because that's when they brought in Goldberg. Now, like, okay, well, Goldberg's going to beat Hunter for the world title, so we don't want to like keep switching the title back and forth super quickly. So that's why they changed it to Hunter winning. And when they made that choice, they screeching halt back up on the racism, and it just became, oh, entertainers don't win world titles or whatever.
Booker T and Goldberg would have been a much better world title match.
Booker T wouldn't have selfishly demanded to have 20 minutes while with a torn groin on pay-per-view.
Right. Right. Oh, and suddenly this Smoky Mountain Wrestling podcast turned into the Barry Paul Levesque hour.
Which is amazing because it started with the Barry Hulk Hogan hour. Yeah. Hey, they both have 3 H's in their name. Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up. We went about an hour and 40 minutes to make up for that hour show we did I did on Tuesday by myself. So as of right now, I have tentative plans for a co-host on next Tuesdays. We'll see if Stevie joins us next week. I don't know if and when Trey's going to be back. Just going to say that. But again, not wanting to give his business out, especially because I don't know everything going on. But if you're somebody who prays, keep him in your thoughts and prayers. If you don't pray, send some positive wishes and good thoughts his way. And hopefully we'll all be back here. And the road to episode 200 is on. But thank you, Stevie. If this is the last time, thank you for coming on. You got a hell of a show out of it.
Yeah, and I'll just leave it like this. I would prefer to be a temporary fill-in, and I hope Trey will be okay and come back full-fledged. But I'm pretty much available if you need me for as long as you need me. So I'll keep the door open to doing it next week and whenever.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.